Brown fam, how is everybody doing? A day late, but not a dollar short. We gonna get right into it, but please, before you do anything, no, I have not. I'm giving everybody time to decompress, so I do not have a book club book just yet. Just giving everybody a little bit of time to do whatever they got to do, and make sure you get your libation or whatever, whether it's chamomile tea to get you relaxed or whatever you need, or a cold cup of water because you worked out or something else. Whatever you need to get you through the show, do that right now. Please hit that like button for me. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not done it. Please hit the bell. Please go to subscribe to brown.com and add your name to the email list. If you want to donate brown.com or patreon.com/ycarnell. You want a t-shirt, adosmerch.com, all of that good stuff. Yesterday's show actually was postponed. I thought it was maybe something I had done, but no, actually YouTube did some updates which made it not compatible somehow, so that with the software that I use, and the software that I used was telling me they couldn't find me on YouTube but broadcast to my channel. So that was that. So today they got it fixed, everything's worked out, and we are here to have a conversation. Let's just talk about what we're going to talk about. Let's just get right into it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. A lot of stuff going on. Bloomberg. Everybody, Bloomberg, we're going to buy elections. How loudly can a Negro say it on YouTube with no money? That's the question. But I think we have to widen the lens, right? Because we're not, as we get this conversation started about Bloomberg, understand that we're not just talking about Bloomberg. We're not just talking about that. We're talking about the power of money and calcified wealth. And we're talking about that in the context of the people who maintain the status quo. So what do I mean when I say people who maintain the status quo? I mean gatekeepers. Because the job of gatekeepers, if you don't already know, the job of gatekeepers, especially insofar as ADOS is concerned, but in general as well, the job of gatekeepers is this. So the Democratic establishment, you can't talk about the job of gatekeepers without talking about the Democratic establishment. And it's the same for the Republican, but we're going to talk about the Democrat because that's where the majority of the black vote goes. Right? The job of the establishment is to set out parameters of what are legitimate and illegitimate ideas. So these ideas are legitimate. These are your choices. It's like a menu. It's like you have a menu in front of you and they give you choices. Now you can't go to a restaurant and tell them what you want. They give you choices. Now some other choices may be better for you. Let's say you're an athlete and you're like, I need some carbs or whatever. And the only thing you have on here is 5 beans and 3 little parcels of okra. I need more than that. No, this is what's on the menu. The menu is the menu. Now if you start getting irate and banging on tables talking about how I need more food. I need rice, potatoes, and some meat. I'm going to turn this table over. That's where the gatekeepers come in. The gatekeepers come in and make you believe that what's on the menu is actually good for you. It's nourishing. You just don't know enough about food to understand how what on the menu is good for you. See, that's what gatekeepers do. Gatekeepers come on, and when you start talking about how there are more legitimate things that should be on the menu, in this case, ideas that should be on the menu in our body politic, like reparations should be on the menu. When you start talking about that or saying that our views should be elevated on the menu, well, I want this thing first, and I want a lot of it. When you start talking about that, then that becomes a problem. The gatekeepers are brought in. And the gatekeepers are brought in to squash you because you're causing problems, not just for them. You're causing problems in the whole restaurant because everybody really in the restaurant understands what you're saying. So the gatekeepers get brought in when the establishment has a problem with the menu. They've been giving you a certain menu about these are legitimate things that you can have in terms of policy prescriptions. When you get outside of that, they bring the gatekeepers in to keep you where you are and to maintain a certain narrow boundary of legitimate ideas for you to choose from. Now, among the gatekeepers, the chief among the gatekeepers right now is Marc Morial at the Urban League. Now, you all remember we supported Byron Allen's lawsuit, right? At the Supreme Court for a very, 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 very specific reason. Civil Rights Act 1860. We supported that because it's good for us. Everybody done shoehorned their way in here. But the Civil Rights Act is beneficial in terms of inclusion, economic inclusion. Now you remember they were the ones who got it all wrong and said we could do the Comcast merger, NBC, whatever, we can do it, and it's gonna be diversity. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be wonderful. You just watch, bada bada boom, knock it out the park. Well, except you didn't knock it out the park. What happened was there was no diversity and inclusion, and there was no specificity, and it wasn't attached to who would get what, right? It wasn't attached to ownership. It was just diversity. It was a throwaway thing. What's gonna be diverse? They told me so, and I trust them. And they gonna donate some money to my fund. I got buildings to build and things to do, and I'm Marc Morial, and I got a paycheck to get, baby. I'm a millionaire, so I need to keep that money coming. Who gonna pay the bills here? The light's going to be turned out if I can't keep these people coming. If I can't keep these white corporations coming, it's going to be a problem. Now, see, that's not what you're really looking for out of an organization that puts out a report called Locked Out. They have a report about how locked out we are as ADOS. Well, then you as a gatekeeper go and do the thing that's going to continue, that's going to further exacerbate us being locked out. Because first of all, when you look at this Sprint and T-Mobile merger, one of the things that it does is going to raise prices. It just is what it is. And that came from a text message. Nothing that I said. They were so excited. We're really going to be able to raise some prices on people. Now, how does that affect our group? When you go and raise prices, who really gets hurt? Like when you raise prices on a group. But we got to get, this is a gatekeeper. We're talking about gatekeepers, right? Morial is a gatekeeper. I'm going to co-sign this. I don't care whether or not this is good. What did he say? Congrats to John Legere and whatever, whoever name, on the success of the T-Mobile Sprint merger. We look forward to advancing diversity and inclusion alongside fellow civil rights organizations who are a part of this collective MOU. Shouldn't y'all be done about had enough of these MOUs, these memorandums of understanding that don't yield anything? Understand how disrespectful this is, because there's nothing on here about what is in the MOU. Same as last time. You just signed on to some stuff. And there's nothing on here about what does this mean for us? What does this mean for the ADOS community and the black community? What do we get out of this? Diversity is everybody except white men, unless the white men are gay. And then they also are included in terms of diversity. Diversity is nothing. It's a con. If you don't understand anything else, understand that diversity is a con. Right? It's just a con. It's a basic con. I don't know how we didn't figure that out long ago, but it's a con. But the second thing about, now remember the Washington Monthly article I put up a while ago about the disappearance of black business. I think that's what it's called. And remember how, I'm just going to put up a couple of clips to just remind us of how mergers hurt black business and lock black business out, because we're in a moment where Walmart is having a hard time competing with Amazon. Do you think we're going to slide in there? And then you want more concentration of power in the marketplace. So these people aren't competing, they're working together. But just because one of the things that I don't understand, and I've never understood it. This is how I know the people, all these people around here shouting about black business are just too stupid for school. And I hate to say that, but it don't make no sense. You ought to read a book. If you are really a proponent of black business, you ought to spend half your time fighting monopolies. You ought to spend half your time fighting concentrated power, because concentrated power is usually concentrated white power. It's not us. We're not barons of industry. If you knew enough, you would do that. But see, even what we have in terms of business, I would challenge anyone to have any of a black business proponent sell an actual product. No, don't sell. Right now, what you sell is black aspiration. No, I want you to sell a product. Let me know how it goes. I don't care. I don't care what you sell. I don't care whether you sell potato wedges. I don't care whether you sell hot dogs. I don't care whether you sell buttered buns. I don't care whether you sell a t-shirt. I mean, it's something that you produce, not something that's produced over there. I want you to do it and show me black business in action. Don't show me what you have now, which is black aspiration in action. And they can't do it. None of them can do it. The only thing they can sell you is a dream and a wish. Buy my thing and I'm going to show you how to do the thing that I can't do. So when you talk about monopolies, when you look at the National Urban League, when you look at Marc Morial, on one hand, they'll do a report about how locked out we are. And on another hand, they will bless a merger that keeps us locked out. Because really and truthfully, you do the locked out report just to kind of put on the ornaments of a civil rights organization, but that's not who you are, is it? You're really a gatekeeper. But just make sure that we understand. Let's go to a few quotes from the Washington Monthly article, just to make sure that we understand how monopolies have locked out black business. Because I never said that people say, oh, Yvette's not in favor of black business. I said there's no black business without black politics. That's very, very different. It's very, very different. So let me just go to here real quick. Now this is what these people did. They try to do the parks sausage and all that stuff and all that kind of stuff, right? Now hold on. So let me tell you a story. Gather around, children, gather around the fire. Founded in 1951 by Henry Parks Jr., the Baltimore-based company grew into a multi-million-dollar operation, selling pork products from New England to Virginia. Those of you who have heard this story, just bear with me a minute. We're not going to be here long. In 1969, Parks took the company public, making the 200-employee firm the first black-owned business on the New York Stock Exchange. Yet, by the 1990s, after a turbulent series of ownership changes, the company had fallen into bankruptcy. In 1996, two black Americans, the football stars Franco Harris and Liddell Mitchell, attempted to revive the company, but faced an increasingly consolidated, that's monopoly, understand that, consolidated meatpacking industry in which the four largest meatpackers control 78% of the market. As Harris put it before selling out, it's been hard to get distribution. Now, this is them when they was trying to do it, because Black Enterprise and all these magazines love to put you on the cover when you're trying to do something, when you fail at doing something, or when it goes on, don't nobody really want to talk about it. But what happens and what happened to him or them is that when you have these consolidated forces that are locked in, they can lock you out. They can say, listen, if you are a part of this distribution network, with this sausage with Parks, we're not gonna renew our contracts with you. And you're so big that the other company, the people who are involved in your distribution network, they say, you know what, we can't afford these people are humongous. They can kill us. That's what we're looking at with Bloomberg. We're gonna get back to it. We're gonna tie it all the way back around. It's the same thing. It's the same consolidated power. It's the same concentrated power. So let's just go back to this for 1 second. Let's look at a couple of them, because it's not just one thing. Much the same story occurs with black-owned grocers. In 1969, J. Bruce Lewin grew 10 Bronx supermarkets into the nation's largest minority-owned retail business. By the 1990s, however, a retreat from antitrust enforcement. See, they're not enforcing these monopoly laws no more. They're just letting them do what they do. Obama too. He ain't out there. It ain't just white presidents. Enforcement and other fair trade laws permitted a few giant corporations like Walmart to engage in anti-competitive behaviors that in previous decades would have resulted in civil and criminal prosecution. These included undermining the pricing power of suppliers and loss leading, or the practice of selling below cost in order to drive competitors out of business. In 1999, Lewin sold his last remaining stores to Dayton Hudson Corporation, now known as Target Corporation. Now here's the thing. What do we say? By not enforcing these anti-monopoly laws, the government picks winners and losers. That's what we say on this show all the time. If you don't understand the relationship between business and politics, then you don't understand the world that we live in, and you can't teach anybody business or politics. Target is here. The black grocer, not so much. And why? Because, very simple, The monopoly laws, even the ones that we antitrust that we have on the books, were not enforced. Politics is also personnel. Right? Then Elizabeth Warren said that's one thing she was right about. Politics is personnel. You have to have somebody who enforces those laws as well. It's not just about the policy. You have to get the policy in place, and then you got to get somebody to enforce the policy. Has to happen. Both things have to happen. A lot of things happen at one time. What you can't have is people like Marc Morial and the Urban League putting their blessing on yet another merger to consolidate corporate power. You can't compete against that. We could compete then. How you gonna compete now? So you don't believe in black business? No, I understand what it takes for a business to make money. I understand what it takes for a black business, which is undercapitalized, to be able to compete. You can't compete. You just stupid enough to believe you can. That's not my fault. You can't compete with this. You can't compete when your government's like, eh. And when the people who are supposed to protect you and be a civil rights organization like, eh. It's not even like, eh. You bless it. Marc Morial, you're blessing this. They say they're going to raise prices. It's a consolidation of power. How are you blessing this? And how is everybody just walking around like this isn't happening? But this is the era of Bloomberg. And the era of Bloomberg and billionaires, I don't even think we should call Bloomberg a billionaire. We should make up another name for him. I was talking to somebody about this on the phone. I don't think you can call Jay-Z a billionaire and call Bloomberg a billionaire. Bloomberg just walking around passing out money. Here, $1 million. Take $1 million. Take 10. How much you want? It's like it's monopoly money. He ain't in the same league as him. We need new names for all these people. But before I digress. So let's go on to a couple more things from this Washington Monthly article. In 1986, a top executive at Revlon made a prediction about the future of the beauty and hair care industry. In the next couple of years, he told Newsweek, the black-owned businesses will disappear. They'll all be sold to white companies. The prediction proved accurate. Why? For those of you who've already read this, you already know. The environment, it wasn't an environment for you to do anything but sell out. They knew the environment they were creating. We the ones who be slow. Much of the same has happened to black-owned firms in the entertainment, communication, and publishing sectors. In response to the merger wave, the founder of Black Entertainment Television, Robert Johnson, told an audience at an investment conference in 1997, you cannot get big anymore by being 100% black-owned anything. 4 years later, Viacom bought out BET for $2.3 billion. In 2005, Time Warner acquired Essence Communications Partners, the publisher of the then leading black-owned women's magazine Essence. Meanwhile, small enterprises, writes the business scholar John Sibley Butler, could not compete with the expansion of larger retail chains, shopping malls, and franchises which developed. Black-owned funeral homes are a prime example. During the civil rights era, writes Susan Smith in her book To Serve the Living, funeral directors were usually among the first black individuals in any town or city who were economically independent and not beholden to the local white power structure. Yet today, black-owned independent funeral homes are an imperiled institution. You see, here's the thing. Anybody who is telling you that monopolies, that we as ADOS should give our blessing to monopolies, is lying to you. No other way about it. Anybody who wants you to believe that monopolies are good for black business, and anybody who says they're in favor of black business but is not actively fighting against monopolies, just doesn't deserve to be listened to. It just is what it is. There's no way, because monopolies are not anything but consolidated white money, consolidated capital over time. And we're going to bring this capital and put them together. And if you couldn't fight this one, if you can't fight this one, you sure as heck can't fight this one. If you can't fight one, you can't fight two. So let's just show why Why the businesses were important for those who say, "Oh, Yvette's anti-business." I don't know why. Independent business owners also played a key role in financing civil rights protests. When you ask why, like, why can't ADOS be financed and why can't somebody else? Well, it's simple. Simple. We can't be financed because, like, the business ain't business. Boyce ain't got no business. What's the child's name? Jay Morrison ain't got no business. Like, you know, and you can't have just what they selling aspiration. Like, it's so important to have businesses, but we don't even know what goes into a business. We don't even know. So independent business owners also played a key role in financing civil rights protests, especially during their peak in the 1950s and 60s. In Tallahassee, a black grocery store owner, Daniel Speed, bankrolled a bus boycott similar to that in Montgomery. And his shop served as a meeting ground for black leaders. In Biloxi, Gilbert R. Mason, owner of Modern Drugstore, led a weigh-in against the white-only section of a federally funded Gulf Coast beach. In his autobiography, Mason wrote, "Pharmacists represented an economically independent class of black businessmen who might have been thought difficult for the white establishment to control. In many cases, the black-owned pharmacy was itself a nexus in black communities." That's what it is. Now, here's the part I want you to pay close attention to. In this era, support for the civil rights movement and opposition to monopoly were political stands often advocated by the same person. For instance, Justice Felix Frankfurter, who made anti-monopoly policy one of the causes of his life, served on the NAACP's National Legal Committee while also being the first member of the Supreme Court to hire a black law clerk. Here too, the important link between black-owned independent businesses and civil rights was operating behind the scenes. Civil rights leader Amelia Boynton and her husband Sam, for example, dedicated half the office space of their real estate, an insurance company in Selma, to host and organize the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. In 1964, Reginald Johnson, secretary of the National Urban League, encouraged the use of antitrust laws to break up housing segregation in the nation's cities. What has happened to that? What has happened to the Urban League? Now, I understand the Urban League got some problematic stuff in terms of black respectability, boule stuff. There's a good book about it. I can't remember the name. I have it. I can't remember the name. But my question is this. What happened to the Urban League? How have we allowed the Urban League to go from antitrust and understanding the value of antitrust, understanding the value of being opposed to monopoly, to giving their blessing to monopoly on top of monopoly, just so they can get buildings built, just so they can pay Marc Morial's salary, and nobody says a thing? How is it that only ADOS is up in here having this conversation about what are you doing? You're blessing another merger. You saw what happened out of the last merger. Byron Allen told it straight, like, this is what happened. We got shut out. There was no diversity. Diversity is women and everybody else is women and Latinos and it's gay men. It doesn't include inclusion in terms of us. And he just went and did it again, and ain't nobody said nothing. Ain't nobody saying nothing. He doing what he want to do. He tweeted it. You can't say he didn't tell you, and don't nobody say nothing. Couple more things. The process continues today. Indeed, one of the legacies of Obama's economic policies has been a particularly sharp drop in the number of black-owned banks. This is not only the result of lessened enforcement of the anti-monopoly laws, but also the unintended side effect of measures like Dodd-Frank. In the process of attempting to keep big banks from failing, Dodd-Frank created regulatory burdens that small banks could not meet. These policy changes contributed to a 14% decrease in the number of community banks between 2010 and 2014. Particularly hit hard were black banks, which decreased 24% during this period. Black-owned financial institutions and the businesses that depend on them for credit were also deeply damaged by the misallocation of bank bailout funds. Referring to the government's troubled asset relief program, former Atlanta banker George Andrews says, if ever there was a crime committed to our community, it was in the way the government handled TARP. According to a 2013 study of TARP investments, black-owned banks were 10 times less likely to receive bailout money than non-minority owned banks. Black Americans suffered disproportionately from the predatory lending practices of big banks and from the reform measures put in place to contain banks that had become too big to fail. Ain't that something? But that's why we were running around looking at t-shirts, talking about he will hook us up in the next term. No. So I say all that to say, I tie all that back, not just to Marc Morial and the Urban League, who have given another merger their blessing as if it's going to be somehow good for us. I want you just to understand how bad monopolies are in general, but especially bad for ADOS. I want you to just have that squarely in your mind. Now, I want you to think about monopolies in terms of how you think about concentrated power in this country or anywhere, but in this country right now, we're living through, Piketty said it, the highest income inequality in America that the world has ever known. That's what we're living through. And into Bloomberg, right? Into Bloomberg. So you have Bloomberg picking up endorsements. Concentrated power, white power. Bloomberg is now picking up endorsements from black people, from black lawmakers. And I say this, I want to say this with a, because he's picked up Bobby Rush. I think he's a former Panther. He spoke out about the Comcast case, and we appreciate him for that. I'm just wondering how that person, because he's one of the people who backed Bloomberg, I'm just wondering how that person is backing a man who's basically buying or trying to, but he's being successful, buying the Democratic Party right now. Because here's what I want you to pay attention to. This is Bloomberg picks up endorsements from 3 black lawmakers amid stop and frisk questions. Reps Lucy McBath of Georgia, Gregory Meeks of New York, and Stacey Plaskett of the Virgin Islands made no mention of the controversial practice made no mention of the controversial policing, practice that took place during Bloomberg's mayoralty in their endorsement statements, but their support could help Bloomberg as he reaches out to the African American community, a critical block of the Democratic base that views the former New York mayor with scorn, in large part due to his longtime support for stop and frisk. Now, here's what Lucy McBath had. Here's what she had to say. Well, let's just go back. Let me just go through this for a second. I want to just go through. Yeah, hold on one second. Here we go. Mike gave grieving mothers like me a way to stand up and fight back. McBath, whose 17-year-old son Jordan Davis was shot and killed by a white man in 2012 over a dispute over loud music. Nobody running for president has done more for gun violence prevention than Mike. Let me just say something. I don't want to disrespect a woman who has lost a child. And I'm not going to do that on this show or any other show. I think our heart went out to her in 2012 and it still goes out to her now. I don't have kids. Those of you who do have kids, I'm sure would know what it feels like to lose one. What I am saying is this, though. She has done something in terms of the way she talks about Bloomberg and even the way she talks about the death of her son. She has done something dishonest. Because I think I think your son would still be alive today if he were white. I don't think the white man who killed your son over loud music, then went home to eat pizza, would have done that had your son been white. I don't think this is a gun control issue. This was a race issue. He saw a black kid who had loud music and probably gave him some lip, and he pulled out the gun and shot him because he thought he's a black kid. He's worthless anyway. And you have turned this into a gun control issue. And you have co-signed a man who was doing to black kids in New York what allowed that to happen to your son. This stop and frisk for him saying, oh, y'all heard the audio. All these people who commit crimes are minorities, most, black and brown or whatever. That's who they are. You got to stop them and throw them up against the wall and whatever you got to do. Understand, who knows what your son's murderer was thinking? This is all part of the white supremacist stereotypes of black people, especially black men. And I go again to Representative Bobby Rush. What were you doing? You used to be a Panther, and now you consolidated power, and you rush to this guy, and he said something. Let's go to Rush for one quick second. He said something too. He said he alone among the current Democratic candidates, speaking of Bloomberg, has the clearest, the most focused, and the most reasonable. I hate the word reasonable because we should be very unreasonable. The most reasonable voice for addressing the depressed state of the African American economy, Rush said of Bloomberg in a statement. His Greenwood initiative is not only inspirational, but it is doable. I don't even know what these black lawmakers are doing. What are you talking about? It's reasonable and doable. Since when was that the barometer? And when we go back to when we go all the way back here, hold on, let me pull this back up. I think we have to, when we go back to Macbeth, I think we have to understand one thing about Macbeth and what she's doing. Bloomberg has picked a certain group of leaders for a very specific reason, right? I want you to look, her district is the 6th district of Georgia. I don't know how many of you are Georgians. But if you're in there and you're a Georgian, I want you to tell me a little bit about the 6th district. Because Bloomberg is picking these people because they're representative of ADOS. With Rush, I understand that. I don't understand it at all with Macbeth. First of all, she just got in there, but how can you represent me? How can you represent me if this is your district? Hold on. Let me just bring this up. Lucy Macbeth, Marietta. Okay. Now, your district is only 14% black, and the median income is $92,000. I don't know. The only thing that I can say is that Bloomberg is trying to get you, because of what happened to your son, to kind of represent him because you were the mother of a movement. But your district does not represent ADOS. In that case, you represent your district. You do not represent ADOS. And I don't mean to be mean to you, but I know who asked you. You came out here and did this for this man. And I know y'all are all doing it for money. He's going to come through on campaign donations. You flipped a red district blue. That ain't enough. That's not enough. Because understand what Bloomberg is really trying to do. What he's really trying to do is use your child's blood, and that's awful. He's trying to do that because he can't be trying to use your district because your district is white. Understand that this is in a state that has Atlanta. You could have found somewhere brown, a darker or black to run. You ran in maybe your district or whatever, I don't know, but you don't get to represent this lily white district where the median income is $92,000. And do that. You don't even get to do it. You don't get to do it Macbeth. You don't get to do it Congressman Rush. No, we're not doing that. Even though your district is different. Your history is different. See, what he's taking is your personal story. You had a son who was murdered. You were from a Black Panther. He's using your personal story. But you know the money gonna come. The money coming. And that seems to be the main concern. We had a Mayor Nutter, former Mayor Nutter on TV talking about, well, everybody was doing stop and frisk. You know, everybody was doing it. It was a happening thing at the time. We was doing it too. It felt, well, you wasn't nothing either. You was awful too. And he's on Bloomberg's payroll. I think I saw read as a consultant. So far, I don't think he got paid about $12,000. Y'all come cheap. Y'all some cheap little Negroes. Now, not all of y'all. Some of y'all get a little bit of money. But most of y'all come real cheap. Y'all don't represent us, though. And that's what I want to get to when I come to the end of this. What I'm trying to say is we have to send a message that these people don't represent us. Because here's the thing that Bloomberg is doing. Bloomberg buying up all the Negroes, child. They come cheap, dime a dozen. I'm going to buy them. And I'm going to have some for sale. And because that's the only way this makes sense. If you can have me, find me another way that it makes sense, I'd love to hear it. But I don't see it. Let me bring this up. Hold on a second. Let's just have a reminder about stop and frisk for just one moment, please. And you all remember who won and who, y'all remember, because what you're saying is that it's okay to unconstitutionally harass mostly black and some brown people, not based on behaviors, to say furtive movements. Well, most of the time it was a wallet or something in the pocket. It wasn't nothing. So that's why it was ruled unconstitutional. What are y'all talking about? I don't even know. Let me find this next thing. I want you to understand that these are the faces. When you talk about the faces of stop and frisk, that's it right there. That's who's been, when you talk about, people talk about fascism, that's what it is. That's what fascism is. Just take somebody and pop them up against a wall. But they make them be black mostly and some brown. Do that. Only 10% of black households make more than 90K, according to the Bureau of Labor. But understand, you have to understand, but that's her district. Compare that to the men we just saw. Compare her district. Only 10% of blacks make over 90K. That's her district, though. Compare that to these men you just saw. Our men who were stop and frisk by Bloomberg. Who do you represent? See, if we're honest about who you represent, it's not these men right here. If we're honest about who you represent, it's the 60% white, only 14% black, 11% Asian, and 12% Hispanic, and 1% Native American. If we're honest, we understand. The picture becomes clear. And the judge found that for much of the last decade, patrol officers had stopped innocent people without any objective reason or to suspect them for wrongdoing. But her criticism went beyond the conduct of police officers. That's the judge who ended stop and frisk. She noted that officers routinely stop people partly on the basis of furtive movements, which I mentioned before, a category that officers have testified might encompass any of the following: being fidgety, changing directions, walking in a certain way, grabbing at a pocket, or looking at one's shoulder. That's what we got rid of with stop and frisk. And that's who these black lawmakers are supporting. But let's go further. Let's go further, shall we? It's not just stop and frisk. I want you to listen to the audio. If you haven't listened to it, what he said, well, that's who commits the crime. We'll go to how that's not true. But he also said that redlining wasn't a thing. He said the government basically pressured banks to redline because people didn't have, the government pressured banks to give loans to people who shouldn't have got loans. So that's kind of what happened with redlining. It wasn't really the bank's fault. I don't know how long. Bloomberg doesn't know enough about America to be president. Let's say that. He don't know enough. He doesn't know enough about America to be president. Because if he knew about America, he would know that redlining was based on race. That's it. It wasn't based on banks pressuring anybody to do anything. Redlining was the government. Redlining was saying we're not going to back these loans, these mortgages, because it's too many black people in the community. That's it. Nothing else. Full stop. If you don't know American history, I don't know how you get to be an American president. And I don't know how us as ADOS can back somebody who says redlining wasn't bad and the banks were forced into it and it wasn't their fault, it wasn't the government's fault. I mean, that it was the government's fault for forcing banks, but not the government's fault for what the government really did, which was forced segregation. What are you talking about? Like, how are you going to let this ignorance into the White House? And y'all are going to do it. I know why you're going to do it, though. You're going to do it for a cool little millie. There was a great little Twitter feed about it. I'm going to put that up in a second. There was a great thread about it. But Bloomberg is hiring so many operatives. Local and state campaigns are starving for help because he could just come get you. I don't care. I got the money. Come work over here. You over there. I don't know how many of you all have worked campaigns, but campaigns are notoriously poor. He can hook you up. He can pay you double. Maybe you have to leave the house that day. You just get paid to just chill out. I don't need you today. Okay, I'm going to be here. This guy did stop and frisk. I want you to take that all the way back. Y'all remember peonage? Where black men used to get picked up on the road and taken to these places where they would work and like the convict leasing or whatever, they would work and till they died. A lot of times they wouldn't even have feed them. They can just stop you for whatever because of your color, not because of your race, not because of anything you did wrong. Do you want to live in a country like that? Do you really think that if crime took an uptick or whatever, that Bloomberg wouldn't make stop and frisk a national policy? How can a Negro get on board with something like that? And then he gonna buy everybody. But that ain't all he bought. There was a great thread. I like to give credit where credit is due about the degree to which Michael Bloomberg is using his fortune to fundamentally alter and manipulate U.S. politics to his personal advantage. It extends way beyond ads. I've worked against him and covered him, and they said here's his playbook. But here's a few interesting things about his playbook and how he buys the Negro. The Negroes you can buy for peanuts. This is from an older article. A few weeks ago, the Reverend Calvin Obutz, the influential pastor of Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, came to a difficult decision, one he had wrestled with all summer. He would not endorse William C. Thompson Jr., the city comptroller and longtime friend and ally, for mayor, as he had promised Mr. Thompson last spring. Instead, he would endorse Mayor Michael R. Bloomberg. Mr. Thompson was furious at the betrayal, but what he did not know was that Mr. Bloomberg gave a $1 million donation to the Church's Development Corporation, roughly 10% of its annual budget, with the implicit promise of more to come. I don't know what kind of church. Yeah, I got more. It's more where that's from. It's more where that's from. You can just pay off people. They'll betray all their friends for the lean mean green. And then the other side of it is, people be like, if you in New York, you're like, I don't really want a billionaire as my enemy. Who knows what he gonna do? But then you can't do that and be the leader of a church, because Jesus is supposed to represent something totally different. What you doing? Something about temples and money changes I'm thinking about. What are you doing? You're not making decisions based on principle. You're making decisions based on money. Now that's business and that's capitalism, but it's not theology, baby. I don't know what church you preaching from or what verse that's in. But let's continue. Bloomberg spent $2.2 million to elect Representative Mikey Sherrill, $2.2 million to elect Representative Haley Stevens in Michigan, and $4.5 million to elect Representative Harley Rhoda. He just buying them. How you gonna go against somebody that put millions into your campaign? Even the charity that was backing Bloomberg to get a third term, we find out about them. What was unknown in the fall of 2008, though, was just how much the Doe Fund had benefited from Bloomberg's personal philanthropy. A review of the Doe Fund documents and tax returns, as well as email messages from the group and interviews with people knowledgeable about its finances, shows that Mr. Bloomberg, through his charitable arms, has regularly given millions of dollars to the group since he became mayor, at least 10 million of which came after the city council hearings on term limits. Just buy the people up. And then you wonder, well, okay, This was a great thread. You wonder, well, why the Republicans ain't talking? Because he get to them too. When you got enough money, you can get to everybody. Hey. I'm gonna give it to everybody. I'm gonna get to you and you and you because that's what money does. This is serfdom. We're serfs now. That's what we are. So the Republicans ain't gonna be like, well, you used to be a Republican, and what are you doing? No, wait a minute. Bloomberg gives record $1 million to state GOP. Well, he giving it to us too. He got enough money to just spread it around. So no surprise here, but Mike Bloomberg rally tonight is catered. Oh, even if you go to the rally or you try to be an activist, activists be hungry, and he gonna cater the food. You might just show up to the Bloomberg thing just because it's some food. I bet it's delicious. Buying an election. The end of the Democratic Party as we know it. And Negroes are getting bought for real cheap. We get bought for sandwiches. Sandwiches. Hold on. I want to get credit. Michael Bloomberg's campaign staff get a MacBook Pro and iPhone 11 on their first day and 3 catered meals a day. Buying democracy. 3 catered meals a day. You get all kinds of stuff, all kinds of technology. Yeah, wine and cheese and biscuits. Wine and cheese and biscuits. What did somebody say? Somebody, Lord have mercy. What's wrong with y'all? I think everybody got to stop being so thirsty. Everybody too thirsty. Somebody in the chat, why don't y'all go get some money? I ain't not here for that. Like, is that your life's work? I just want everybody to understand, what is your life's work? What is the meaning of your life? Are you here to get butter biscuits? I mean, how much is that? How much does that just feed your soul? You're going to get a MacBook and some money and I don't even care if the Negro gives you $1 million. And then what? Is that why you were here? Is that why you on the plan to get $1 million and some butter biscuits from Bloomberg? Like you throw the whole collective in the trash. Everything that happened was stop and free. It's not even like we're talking about a billionaire who's like, oh man, this billionaire switched up and all of a sudden he's pro reparations. He has a really good black agenda. You're talking about Bloomberg. You want to get out of the way for 2 nickels and some technology and some money and some butter biscuits. I don't even know what everybody does. I don't even know why people think. I mean, everybody need to give some serious thought into the meaning of life. And understand that he's giving away your money and my money because he got the money because of tax cuts. Like, he's not no regular billionaire. We ain't talking about Jay-Z or even Byron. No, like, we talking about a man who, what was I say, he's worth like $665? Like, he should have been taxed out of all that money. How much money? He giving away your money. He ain't nothing special. You think Bloomberg is special? Child. And here's where social capital comes into play. Mike's wealth even affects his rivals' fundraising. Using his relationships with other rich donors, he's personally asking them to sit the election out so his rivals can't raise cash. Because having $61 billion to spend versus $20 million for the other Dems is too close for comfort. So I want to back up and make sure you understand what you just heard. So normally, what candidates do is they fight for money. And they call a lot of the same donors who are donors of the Democratic Party, and they say, hey, I really need your help. I really need your help this time around. I'm gonna do everything. And then the donor says, well, I need this, I need that, and I need that number. No. I'm your guy, I'm your gal. Well, he says Bloomberg doesn't even need their money. So he don't even call for money. He called to say, listen, fam, you know what it is. I know you always be giving money. We run the same circles. Person may not be a billionaire, multimillionaire. Hey, listen, just sit this one out. I'm not asking you to do anything. Just sit this election out. He gonna starve out the other candidates. He ain't even gotta get more money. I just gotta starve you out to make sure you don't get no money. I'm gonna starve you out. And don't nobody want to make him mad because he's a billionaire. So if Bloomberg calls you and tells you to ease up, guess what you do? That's the end of democracy, people. And we ain't really had one like that. Bloomberg been going around telling people that he's Obama's ace boom coon. And you got to think, he said Obama was too divisive. If you think Obama was too partisan and too divisive, how conservative are you? But Bloomberg used to be a Republican, and he switched and did a whole bunch of stuff because he don't really have no values and stuff like that. So come on. This should disqualify Michael Bloomberg. Let me read this before we go out. So one of the unintended consequences, people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids. This is Bloomberg. You are arresting kids for marijuana that are all minorities. Yes, this is true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhood. Yes, that is true. Why do we do it? Because that's where the crime is. Bloomberg says. And the way you get to the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them up against the wall and frisk them. But here's the real truth about the whole thing he just said. 95% of murderers, and murder victims are male minorities between 16 and 25, Bloomberg said. This is actually not true. Not in New York City and not nationwide. In 2015, reportedly the same year as this recording of Bloomberg, black men committed 36% of murders and were 52% of murder victims, according to FBI data cited by the National Criminal Justice Reference Service. White men were 30% of murderers and 43% of murder victims, according to the FBI statistics from 2015. Just under 16% of male murder victims were Latino or Hispanic, and less than 10% of the offenders were Latino and Hispanic. He didn't know his own state, so of course he doesn't know America. The only thing he knows is money and power. And as I close, what I want to say is this. This is our role. This is what we have to do. What we have to do, because you all know he bought City Lab and just fired a bunch of people because people were writing bad about him. He could just that's what billionaires can do. So what we have to do is this, in terms of these gatekeepers. I don't care whether it's Marc, Morial. I don't care whether it's Rush, Meeks, McBath. I don't care who it is. The message that we have to send, the message that we have to elevate, is that these people are meaningless to us in terms of they have no influence over us. We don't care how much you pay them. We don't care how much you put them on TV. We don't care how much you dangle them in front of us and make them little ornaments and hold their tail. We don't care what you do. They will not be influential over us because we are being moved by a black agenda, and the heartbeat of which is reparations. That's what we're doing. We are not moved by these surrogates anymore. When we cease to be influenced by these people, Bloomberg and none of these people, he's not stupid. They're going to see, you know what? We got to get rid of these gatekeepers because this stuff don't work no more. These gatekeepers are ineffective. These gatekeepers don't keep a gate because the Negroes is tearing down the gate, hopping over the gate, digging under it. They're not keeping a good gate. We have to send a firm message this election that we will not be used or abused or influenced by anybody's gatekeeper. Not this time, not no more. We will be influenced by an agenda that we hold dear and that we want to see manifested in policy, that we want to see enacted in policy, but we will not be moved by gatekeepers. They have no influence over us. You get Nutter on TV to talk whatever he talk don't mean nothing to me and don't mean nothing to no other Negro. That's what we have to put in place. I don't care what Nutter say. Nutter is inconsequential to me. I don't care what he say. It's like hot air. In, out, don't matter. If we do that, that's a shift. That's a paradigm shift because they have to figure something else out. Because you have to figure something else out because what you're doing ain't working. And the thing I think that you end up having to figure out is you have to go through ADOS. When the gatekeepers stop working, you have one other place to go, and that's right here. And that's where I want you to be. So saying that, fam, we're going to go to break, come back in a couple minutes. Give me a couple minutes. As usual, we got to set up the phones. Don't forget to hit that like button while you're in there and give me a few minutes. All right, family, we are back. We are back. About to go to the phones. I want to know what you all have to say about all of it. The Monopoly, the Urban League, the Bloomberg, all of it. So I'm going to my first call. I'm going to 708. 708, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, John from Chicago.
What's going on, John?
Not much, man. Long time no talk to.
What's been going on?
Hey, Yvette, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Have the tickets started to sell for the upcoming conference?
No, not yet.
All right, because I set my vacation.
Okay.
I was at the last one.
Oh,
Now I want to be
appreciate
at this one.
Okay, appreciate
So
it. No, you ain't missed it. You haven't missed it yet.
I got to be there because this is the most important and consequential conversation you get going on in the lives of ADOS, period. Bar none, nothing else is more important than what ADOS and you guys are speaking on the most important thing in our lives right now. But to get on topic,
okay.
These gatekeepers, like the Al Sharptons of the world, all of the people that jumped on line to stand for Gail throughout this week. I stand with Gail. These are gatekeepers. And they will do anything to keep their pockets and the pockets of their individual families lined, even if it's at the peril of our entire group.
Yeah.
And that's shameful. That is shameful, and it just absolutely should not be. And I remember during the Felicity Huffman thing that was going on, and you did a show about it, and I remember you saying, man, I was wondering these tests, and I thought something was wrong with me, just to find out it was really nothing wrong with you as an individual. And what we need to understand is that there's nothing wrong with us as individuals. These people cheat because they have the money to do so. They can get away with it. And the law works in their favor. And what we need to do is exactly what you said. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. We have to scream at the top of our lungs so that the candidates, the people that want that office, know that, hey, in order for you to get what you're trying to get, you're going to have to go through us, and there's going to have to be policy that is advantageous to ABOS. Period.
Absolutely.
This is non-negotiable now because we're already falling. There was a gentleman who spoke a couple of weeks ago. I think his name is Carl from Las Vegas. Very interesting, that guy. But he said something. He said, we are the safety net holding every other group, even people who aren't citizens, up in this country. And we are. Everyone rises off of the failure of ADOS, and we just simply can't take it anymore. And may I just say one other thing?
Go ahead.
As far as business, the idea of black business, and since I started, listening to you guys, because I was an aspirational person, spoke to my children, do this business. And last week I was talking to a friend of mine. He owns a couple of trucks. I own a truck. We call ourselves the small trucking company. And I'm laughing because it's funny,
Yeah.
But constantly have to tell him, hey man, there's nothing wrong. It's not that you're not smart enough. It's nothing wrong with us. We just don't have the money.
Mm.
And anything that we do, listen, I have access to a whole lot of credit, but I don't have any capital, any savings, anything that I could do to just go get something without the help. And even if I had it, I'd still have to go to the other group to get the business.
Mm.
And they lock us out, whether it's in stone, whether it's in dumping, whether it's in containers, whether it's in any kind of trucking movement, they have it locked down. And that is just a simple fact of the matter. And we need to be honest about that. And the only way that changes is through politics. So thank you. I love you.
Love you back, fam. Follow my Twitter. I released the that's probably where I released the link to buy the tickets when it's time to buy. But appreciate you, fam. Yeah, when you have the power, you can lock in and lock out. That's what you do. I got the power. Listen. Nope, I don't want to do this whole competition thing no more, because what's better than competition? Collusion. Collusion is always better than competition. Why would I fight with people? Why don't we just get in the room and decide how we gonna all make money? You think the market is really competing like that? Like, there is competition, like we talk about Amazon or whatever, but there's still complicit agreement in some things about what you will and how low you won't go or stuff like that. I'm not saying these two aren't fighting, but it's like there's still some complicity. You remember that whole thing about Steve Jobs and how that stuff was different. He had a conversation with the head of Google, and they kind of decided they wouldn't poach off each other, and they was going to pay people at a certain level. That's collusion. So anyway, I'm going to the next caller. I am going to 646. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, I finally got through.
What's going on?
Yeah, my name is Grant. I'm actually calling from Brooklyn, New York.
What's on your mind?
Well, I'm here to actually talk about Bloomberg.
Okay.
I was actually lived there and stuff while he was running for mayor.
Okay.
And pretty much from day one, once he took $1 for a salary, I already knew the jig was up. How do you come in as a candidate, you're worth only $10 billion, and you leave making $55 billion?
Yep. Because he's going to make his money other ways. He don't need no salary.
I'm sorry, what you said?
No, I said he's going to make his money other ways. It's New York. He don't need no salary.
Oh, no. Definitely. And the thing about with stop and frisk, that's not the only audio they have. That's just the one they probably just discovered. There's police officers saying that they was against it because they knew what was going on. There were several officers in New York that pretty much had a lawsuit against the city because they spoke out. And, it's pretty much they had civil suits against them. They wasn't being rolled up in the ranks. This dude's the real version of Lex Luthor, and a lot of people don't realize this.
Yeah, it's extra work too, stop and frisk. I gotta police people, but I gotta find some people to push up against the wall. And man.
Yeah, and the thing about it, he knew about this because several lawyers, several judges told him it was unconstitutional. But he doesn't care. He ruined New York City. He pushed in gentrification. There's an area in New York, Soho, which is a village. A lot of small market vendors used to be there. What he did, he wanted Europe to be inside New York. So he forced them all out. And this was a thriving small business area. And he's done that again and again. But everybody hey, as long as we're making money, nobody cares. I mean, all of New York doesn't even look recognizable now. The culture, the people is gone. And, I'm non-ADOS. My parents are from the islands. But, what he did to Brooklyn, he destroyed a lot of small business owners and even people who had homes there at Barclays Center.
Wow.
What you're seeing is a real-life conglomerate who does not care. If you think he does it through New York, what you think he's going to do once he gets his hands on the country?
Woo. There it
He's
is.
going to try to earn hundreds of billions of dollars. He's just a smarter version of Trump. That's all he is.
Oh, woo. All right, Colin.
And all these
I'm gonna let you have the last word. You say all the what?
Okay, all these people, the gatekeepers, lining up with him. At the end of the day, they're gonna get swallowed into.
Yeah, because nobody cares about gatekeepers. That's one thing gatekeepers don't understand. Nobody cares about gatekeepers. Not us, not them. Nobody cares about you. You're out there by yourself.
Yeah, but thank you so much for taking my call.
No problem, fam. I appreciate it. And let me just say this. Let me just say something about the era we're entering into. When I say, I want to make it clear, when I say nobody cares about gatekeepers, we're entering in an era where you have to be a member of a tribe, and I don't even know what you might want to call it, an army, and you have soldiers, right? That's kind of what we're entering into. But gatekeepers have no soldiers, but everybody's armying up. You're going to be in quite a pickle if you don't have people. Like, this isn't the same space that it used to be. This isn't the same era that it used to be. Right? It's a different era. It's a different era than what it used to be. And you gatekeepers are lining up for something, but you have, like, Bloomberg has money backing him, and when you have money backing you, it means you have people backing you. That's what money does. What do you have? Anyway, going to my next call. I am going to 334. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Keith from Alabama. I want to talk about Bloomberg real quick. But before I get into Bloomberg, I want to briefly mention your interview with ABC.
Okay.
And I wanted to say I like that purple blazer. And if you would have had a top hat and a cane, I probably would have called you Black Willy Wonka.
I would have been Mr. Peanut. No, I would have been, somebody told me I was the Joker. I was the Joker. So,
Okay. But so Bloomberg, he actually came to my campus in Montgomery. And I want to talk about my interaction with him.
Okay.
And my interaction with the older Black people in the room.
Okay.
So as Bloomberg got done with his speech after he got endorsed, after he went over his Greenwood initiative, so I wanted to ask him a question because a lot of people in the room didn't know his history as mayor in New York. So I was trying to I shook his hand, to say hey. I'm trying to get him to stop for a moment. That man's really slippery. So I was going to ask him about one, why you only have 3 policies or 3 things you want to touch on in the Greenwood Initiative, and what your thoughts on reparations, all that jazz. Couldn't get a chance to ask him because he slipped away. But afterwards, I was asking the older Black people in the room, and I'm like, so what do you know about him? Do you know his history as mayor? And a lot of them did not know. And this was before, all this information about him with Stop and Frisk, Central Park 5. And really, it was kind of strange just being in the room, just hearing everybody cheer for him. I like Mike, Mike, you're the man. It was really strange. So,
yeah, that's odd.
Yeah. But that's really about it.
Okay. But I can imagine he's slippery. He's a billionaire child. He's a billionaire. He's not like I just made it to one. No, and you gotta think about how much money he's given. How many palms he's greased. That's what money does. It's just I can put money everywhere. I can just put money everywhere in everybody's hands. I need to put money in hands. I can do it. I can do everything. That's what it does. That's what it does. Money makes the world go round. Money makes America go round. You ever notice you go somewhere? If you go somewhere and you have a bunch of money, if you don't have it, if you think about it, if I had a bunch of money, everything would go well. I don't know, care what kind of trip, if I had a bunch of money at the hospital, I don't have to think about it. That's Bloomberg. He just money for everything, everywhere. I can pay off everything. So anyway, going to the next call. I am going to 678. 678, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Ray out of Atlanta.
What's going on, Ray?
Part of ADOS in Atlanta.
What's up, Ray?
So how you doing?
Pretty good.
Hey, I wanna be the voice of encouragement to all ADOS out there. I want to let them know I'm 61 years old. I've seen Carter, Reagan, 2 Bushes, and Obama, and closet care. We're gonna survive Trump. I want to reassure everyone that it's still early. We still got 9 more months to go before November. We got the conference to go to and all that. And I want to assure everybody of this. ADOS is growing. This is my first time calling in, but I've been listening since about 2016. And I want everybody to understand this. We are on the right side of history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are moving forward. Stay on your square. And remember, no black agenda, no reparation. ADOS will be voting down ballot.
Mm-hmm.
All those surrogates and gatekeepers and traitors, right now, the numbers that we are now, we outnumber them already. You know, if you got all Bloomberg money, he ain't got but 1 vote. So y'all hang in there, ADOS. I'm on voice of encouragement. I'm 61, soon be 62, and some fights are worth fighting for. Never forget our ancestors.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it, fam.
All right, dear. Have a great night.
You too. You do the same. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, like this is the fight. Why wouldn't you want to fight this fight? I don't. It's just a lot. I just be kind of tired sometimes. I don't really want to be bothered. You know. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to the next call. I'm going to 613. 613. Hold on one second. 613. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, hi. Mike. I'm calling from Canada. I'm a huge fan of your show. I listen to it all the time. I think you're so intelligent and funny, and it's really an educational experience. But I was so disappointed last night by the show that you did about Gayle King. I thought that the same idiots who sometimes attack you are also the same people who are attacking Gayle King, and I thought she did absolutely nothing wrong. I don't think she ambushed Lisa Leslie. She invited her on the show to have a discussion about Kobe Bryant's entire legacy. And as a good journalist, she asked a tough question about the biggest controversy of his career. And she did absolutely nothing wrong. And then all of a sudden you have all these people playing the race card and trashing her, saying she only singled him out because he's a black man. And it was just utterly ridiculous. And I think Oprah has done so much good for the black community. I mean, whatever you think of, I think if it weren't for Oprah, we wouldn't have Obama. And whatever you think about his presidency, I agree with you, he wasn't that effective a president. But in terms of the image he brought to the world, like people complain Oprah's tarnishing the image of black men, but then you look at the image of Obama having 8 years of an articulate, dignified black family in the White House. Like Oprah single-handedly created an entire black elite with the Obamas and with Susan Rice, and sending 500 black men through Morehouse. So I thought the criticism was very unfair.
Okay, what do you let me just ask you a question about let me start last and work back forth and work back to the beginning. What do you think is the value of a black elite?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I think one is the symbolism of the imagery, whether or not they're a good role model, whether or not they project a positive image about black people to the world. So even if someone is not a good black elite in terms of their policies, just the imagery itself, like Bill Cosby, he didn't do it, like back when he had a show before he became a scandalous character. But the Cosby Show, even though it didn't do anything in terms of substance, in terms of advancing reparations or anything like that, at least it was a great thing for black people in terms of mainstreaming them and helping them enter the culture and get respect from the rest of society. But there are also blacks like you who are very instrumental in terms of advancing actual substance in politics. So it's very rare that you find both in the same individual. But Oprah, at least, I mean, she also brought Marianne Williamson, who was the person who discussed reparations and was on your show and Antonio's show. and brought reparations to a mainstream audience. So
yeah, but
and
she didn't.
also
But she didn't.
like,
But that came much later in Marianne Williamson's career. She didn't discuss reparations at all on Oprah's show. On Oprah's show, she discussed A Return to Love, which was her first book. She didn't discuss reparations. So if I think
if it weren't for Oprah's show, we never would have heard of her.
I don't
And
know.
also
I don't. But I don't know if I don't know.
like,
No, I don't know if that. I don't know if that's true. Like, I don't know if we never would have heard of Marianne Williamson. I understand that Oprah promotes a lot of people, makes a lot of people more popular. But I can't say that you're right that we never would have heard of Marianne Williamson had it not been for Oprah.
Well, there's no way to prove it either way. But also there's Toni Morrison, like books like Beloved, bringing slavery to the screen, which also helps kind of pave the way for separation because it sort of opens the public's heart to the Black experience. And
see, here's the problem. Let me just.
But I just don't think she should be demonized.
But let's have a discussion then. Let's have a discussion. See, you feel like Oprah's book club brought Toni Morrison The Bluest Eye and opened white America to Black literature. That's what you. Is that a fair assessment of what you just said in that last little snippet, not the whole conversation? But in that last little snippet about opening.
Yeah, I think she helped create.
Okay.
Well, Oprah herself said that one of the reasons she wanted to bring Beloved to the screen was she was just hoping for an opening of the heart. She wanted to sort of open white America's heart to sort of help them understand why the Black community was dysfunctional. Like, this is the experience we went through.
Yeah, but she didn't. Yeah, but here's the problem with it though. Here's the problem for me with it. What Oprah did most of the time, and it's documented, what she did most of the time wasn't open the hearts to the bluest eye. And that's one thing. What she did most of the time was depoliticize, right? She depoliticized and she made success in America an individual endeavor. And that's never been what success in America was. So she made white America believe in a Black America that doesn't exist and an upward mobility in a Black America that doesn't exist. Now, you can say to me that that's worth it because she introduced white America to the bluest eye. I'm saying in terms of how I weigh things, it's not. Now, we can agree and disagree on that, but that's where I am with it.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that she's an expert on individual success, so she's not going to go around lecturing people about.
But no, she's not. She's not. She's not though. Oprah's success came during a period when the FCC was trying to find blacks and women to put on TV and radio. That's what elevated her. The government in terms of the FEC putting pressure on networks. Listen, we need more women, we need more blacks. That's how she got elevated. She thinks she's an expert on individual success, and she doesn't understand that she is the beneficiary of government action.
But there are 40 million Black people in the United States, and only Oprah was able to take advantage of those government opportunities as brilliantly to become the richest African American of the 20th century and the most influential woman on the planet.
No, Oprah was chosen. Oprah was chosen. It wasn't that Oprah was in the right place or she was so much more talented than everybody else. No, Oprah was chosen to be in a certain position at a certain time.
She was chosen by the people. Like, she started out in Baltimore at a low-budget morning talk show. She was, demoted from the news. They just threw her on this morning talk show to get rid of her because she was so incredibly talented at connecting people and entertaining people. Her show became the highest-rated talk show in Baltimore.
It absolutely did. It absolutely did. But somebody chose her. It wasn't just to get rid of her. That's a story they like to tell. But somebody chose her to put her on those shows. Somebody chose her for those platforms. Like, what happened with Oprah is that she got an opportunity. You can say, the opportunity was to throw away. She got an opportunity that most of us never get. She got an opportunity that I'll probably never get. Most of us will never get.
Did someone choose you to be on YouTube? No, you got a show.
And I'm never going to be, and I'm never going to be Oprah. Listen, I'm never going to be Oprah. Nobody chose me to be on YouTube, but I'm never going to be Oprah. No. Let me just say this. Unless somebody at a network chooses Yvette, I have to have a white person choose me. That's how this works. Somebody white chose Oprah. Unless somebody white chooses me, and that compromises me, so we're not even going to get into that. I don't even want that. But let me just say this. I have to be chosen by somebody white. Oprah was chosen. You have to be chosen. That's how it works. It's not just now you can keep yourself there by working hard, but you also have to keep yourself there by social engineering. Social engineering is a part of this. You can't get on there and start talking like I talk here about politics and what we have to do to be empowered. That's not how this works. That's not how it works on TV. You have to tell people that I did it. Anybody can did it. People on welfare. The show Oprah talking about people on welfare eat too many bonbons and are they misusing money? And I don't know about tax havens and wish fulfillment without politics. You have to be that to be Oprah. There's no other avenue.
No, I do agree that she can't be like a black radical. Otherwise,
I'm not radical. I'm not radical at all.
Well, I mean, it's all relative, right? But I mean, you have to be mainstream. You have to make yourself appealing to like the broadest possible audience.
White people.
And you can't offend advertisers. Obviously.
White people. Just say white people.
In that sense, that she was chosen, but there was so much competition to choose from, and she still made it. So I think she deserves credit for that.
I've never said that Oprah's not a personable person, but she was chosen. She was put in a position, and she was put in a position. Listen, in terms of social engineering, it is necessary, especially after Phil Donahue, who was kind of pro-black in his own way, who had Farrakhan and a whole bunch of other people on the show. It's necessary to have a black.
Had, like, Jay Philippe.
It's necessary to have
Donahue also had like a show with Jay Philippe Rushton, who was arguing that blacks are genetically inferior and Asians are genetically inferior.
Yeah, he had him, but he took a side. He took the side that he took. But what I'm saying is this: Oprah came in and said that I can do it. Black people can do it. I'm not in favor of. And when even you got to go back. Oprah done hid all of her old shows. You have to go back and see if you can find some of her old shows in terms of how she does the kind of thing where you say this and you say that. One side say this and one side say that. And how she always seemed to side with rugged individualism. And I did it. I came up from nothing. I know if you think positive, you can do it. She never talked about anything systemic until she never really talked about politics until she got to Obama. So what I'm saying for you, what I'm telling you is that
strategic on her part, though. Like I wrote, she would always keep her mouth shut about anything controversial.
It did, but that don't benefit me. But listen, that don't benefit me. That don't benefit me. I have to have an assessment of Black America and what she did in terms of Black America. I'm not talking about white America. That's not my issue. That's not my show. I'm talking about how her show and coming into white living rooms every day impacted ADOS. That is my concern. And when I look at that, she did a disservice to us. Now, you can say, well, she had to do a disservice to y'all to do good TV. Oh, well, my assessment is my assessment and it stands.
Well, if you look at statistics, like if you look at the percentage of the public that was racist in like 1990 versus today versus like in 2010 when Oprah ended, the number of people who say they wouldn't want their children marrying a black person or something, it nosedived. So, like, statistically, the amount of racism in the United States went down precipitously during Oprah's reign. So,
what does that mean, though? What is that? Let me just say individual racism is very different than systemic racism. I don't care if a white person wants to marry me. I give no dams. What I care about is systemic racism in this society that bottom casts us, which means we don't have wealth, we don't have inheritance, we don't have generational wealth, we don't have social capital. I don't care what somebody says, well, I would let my son or daughter marry a Negro. First of all, that's very hypothetical. I don't care about that. The things that are important in my life, in terms of my politics and in terms of what we can do as a group and whether or not we can enjoy the fruit of American life, those things Oprah did not help. I don't care who wants to marry me. I can find somebody for that. I don't care if a white person decides that. I do not care. That is no point of mine. I don't care about, well, white people will marry you now, Yvette. I don't care about that. I don't need you to marry me. So what? If you won't, I don't care. I want to be equal in this society. I want upward mobility. And really, I think I should be higher up on the hierarchy because of what my ancestors contributed. That's where I am. And when I look at that through that lens of politics, I think her show neutralize our politics. It didn't help us, it hurt us, and we didn't know that at the time. I don't even know how much Oprah knew at the time. I can't speak to that. I can only speak of the facts in terms of how I assess the situation. Now I'm gonna let you have the last word.
Well, I think she was strategic in the sense that she was trying to save her political capital for a moment where she could actually make a difference, because too often you speak out on something controversial and then you're just ruined. But she thought to herself, well, I'm going to just keep my mouth shut for 20 years, get more and more political capital, and then when she saw an opportunity, like Obama running for president, and she knew the race was close enough that she could tip the scale in his favor against Hillary, she thought, this is the brilliant time to dive in and use all that influence I've been accumulating. And she thought, well, Obama, he went to Harvard, he's brilliant, he'll be able to make the systemic change because he's educated, but maybe that didn't work out the way she hoped. But that wasn't her fault. She meant well. She did all she could do.
No, no. Stop. And I'm gonna let you have the last word. But stop saying it's not her fault. This is one of the most informed and wealthy women, not just black women. Stop saying it's not her fault. Like, you should, if you didn't know what you were doing, you should have. Like, that's kind of where I am with it. If you did not know what you were doing, you should have. And you did this. You had the opportunity to have conversations I never had with Obama. And you decided to put your eggs in this basket. So regardless of, even if you say, you know, I don't like not attributing responsibility to people. Well, she waited 20 years to do something and it wasn't right. And so she tried. No, I would never get away with that. You don't get to be able to do that. You get to know what you're doing. And if you don't know about politics, you get in the room with somebody who does know and who does it right. You don't get to just throw your eggs over there and it don't work out. And then you don't say nothing about Obama while he's doing BS. You know why? Because you and Obama are on the same page. Y'all both believe in this bootstrapism that doesn't work and has never worked for ADOS. That's what I believe.
Well, I think you're a touch. I mean, I agree with you that Obama could have done a lot more, but at the same time, he does deserve some credit for making systemic change, like healthcare. How many millions of black people are now surviving because of the healthcare initiative that he made? I mean, that was a huge thing.
I'm gonna let you, but I gotta let you go because the call's going long. But I'm gonna just tell you, I don't make a whole lot of money on this show. YouTube ad apocalypse has come, and his wrath has come. But what I'm gonna tell you is, I pay out the butt for healthcare that most doctors don't even take. So if you want me to sing the praises of Obamacare, I just can't do it. I think you could have went with a public house. I think you could have done a whole lot more stuff than what you did. When I look at this little crappy healthcare I come in with the bill that comes with it. So if you want to talk about how black people are so much better off than because of healthcare, I don't see it. I do not see it. I think a lot of us are on Medicaid and stuff like that. But when you have to pay for Obamacare and this little peach care crap I got, that you go to the clinic. Do you take this? No, we don't take that. We don't take that. You live my life and you see that it ain't what it's all cracked up to be. And you income out of that stuff real quick. You get in the $30,000 range and you out of it. You out of this. You got to pay on your own. And you talking about a Mercedes BMW car note. Right, so I appreciate healthcare like everybody else, but I can't sing those praises because I see the bill every month. So that's just where I am. So I appreciate you, but I appreciate your alternative point of view. Right. I appreciate it, and I think it was a good conversation.
All right, thank you.
No problem. I'm going now to 310. I'm coming to you.
Yeah, that's all talks. Sonny, I wasn't even gonna call in. I thought it was gonna be a Bloomberg show, and then you had somebody who was Oprah and Gail fan call in. And I just, there's a couple things I want to talk about. I sent you an image if you can pull that up while I talk. I set this up. One of this a trip is you start off with this whole, I think. Now, I'm going to say that I done talked to Byron Allen almost 1,000 hours. Like a lot of hours. And I don't know if everybody understands. When I say on the Weather Channel, there's only 4 news networks in America. 4. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, and the Weather Channel. He owns the 4th one, a black man. And so when I'm talking about wealth, we add that in with the kind of level of dealing with the Federal Reserve data. They didn't put out wealth data to the 90s. So before that, when Oprah came on, didn't nobody know that black people didn't have that. And I come to this point where I can't talk to the dude you just talked to. He gotta go. And I know everybody can have their feelings about it all. The reason I say he gotta go until he can go to some kind of
and I'm sorry for the curse word, it's just disrespectful to you and your show to watch your show, then come into your show and say the ignorance he just said about Gayle King and Oprah. It's disrespectful to everything that you've done and laid the framework for, everything that I've done and laid the framework for, because you need a black elite that exists that never happened in America. Let's pull up the bottom corner chart first, the one that says white household wealth is 20 times that of black and Hispanic. One thing he said, Yvette, is what? He said that racism went down, right, Yvette? Ain't that what he said?
Yep.
Well, when we look at this chart, since 1990, we went from $25 trillion of white household wealth to 100. If you can pull it all the way up so we can see the blacks. Because the black is near zero the whole time. So whites got less racist because they didn't need to be racist because all they had to do was be wealthy. I can't talk to him, bro. We don't know enough. When I take my analysis, I bounce it and throw it as hard as I can at Sandy Derrick. And see what crack out. Or Matt Brunick. Or Byron Allen. By the time he finishes with that Weather Channel, he gonna leverage it. It's gonna be worth $11 billion. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be worth $10 or $11 billion. And right now, it's already singularly worth a multiple $billion. You gotta keep telling me about Oprah and you don't know her. I brought into our ADOS conference one of the wealthiest black men in America, and he's telling us we're locked out. But you gonna tell me about Oprah, and you don't know her. You can't be no fan and talking to people who actually know people. Because we're not having a conversation about fandom. We are having a conversation about truth. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm unpacking it, and I'm seeing that he just told us that racism went down during Oprah. This is Oprah's career. Just about. It starts a little bit before here. 1990 to present. Yvette. So racism went down and white people got wealthier. What is this man talking about?
I don't know. I mean, I think
it makes
tolerating us. He's talking about white people basically tolerating us. That's what it feels like. Like white people tolerate us more.
But what he's also talking about is a world where he can traffic on that little language he speaks. That nice little language, that flowery little way of talking that he talks about. They don't crack all that up. We're not doing that no more. We got a gate up. We're not doing what you do. And I understand that offends somebody out there. But what we're doing is the kind of politics anchored in truth. This is the wealth data that just came out. I'm sorry if it makes you feel bad. If it cracks up. See, if you invert, so if we had his chart, which shows that white people got less racist, it would exactly go the opposite line of white people getting wealthy. I'd rather you be racist and broke than wealthy and not racist, I guess, if that's what you're calling it. Well, you know what happens? You just put the racism in your gentrification or in your Trader Joe's or in the way that you price your community, because then you can Philando Castile your community into what you need it to be. That's what they're doing. How do you not know this, bro? And so I'm unpacking this thing, and I come back to the I think. Y'all know I did 2 videos on Gayle King and Oprah. He said, I think they Gayle did a wide, and she had a right to interview Lisa Leslie. By what right? By what right? I said it on my show. Say it again. Kobe won an Oscar. You could ask him then. Kobe retired. You could ask him then. Lisa Leslie is his friend. Just his friend. But she didn't bring Charlie Rose on and ask his wife. Let's bring Charlie Rose's wife on and just pop a question on her. But that's fair game. In what world is CBS, because that's what Gayle King, everybody said a black woman being attacked. You know the only black woman being attacked was Lisa Leslie. So Lisa Leslie was attacked by CBS. And then they told us that Gayle King is the black woman that was being attacked. No, that's CBS. Gayle King is just CBS. She's not asking an interview question for her own production company or her own show that she individually set up, or black journalism or black paper. She's CBS. I'm saying all this because we got to unpack this thing. But let's do the one-on-one lesson. The Pew Research just comes out with the data. We talked about this on my Twitter but we need to bring it into the show because my man doesn't know. Because that's why his world is so flowery and there's less racism. From 1970 to 2018, the middle class income increased from 58,100 to 86,600, a gain of 49% by comparison. The median income for upper tier households grew 64% over that time, from $126,000 to $207,000. But understand, I'm gonna flip it for you. This is what I added because I'm using the Bureau of Labor in addition to the Pew Research to give you an analysis of Black America. If the median income for middle class is 86,600, and over half of Black, if you scroll back up to the top so I can see the top, and over half of Black households, hold on, let me pull it up. And over half of two-income Black families make less than $35,000, and 90% of Black families make less than $87,000. Literally, there are very few Black families or even middle class in America, and that's before a wealth announcement. And I say this to you because I also told you two more things. I said, let me make it simple because I don't want to get complex. I said, roughly, if you're a family in America, regardless of race, with children, and you're not making $100,000 combined, and your parents together are going to leave you about $300,000, it's going to be tough for you trying to go to Disney World or pay for your kids' college. And now you see why reparations is imperative. And I think one of the things that made me want to call in right now about this is, contextually, I think a lot of Black folks is living in a world that never happened. And that was my biggest problem with that call. He made a world that if you don't know the data from the Pew Research and from he sounds kind of good. It sounds okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
What he said about racism going down sounds real good until you see the wealth data of how much white wealth went up over that exact same period. What he said about Oprah show doing so much for Black folks sounds really good until you understand that we don't have a Black middle class. I have no idea how these people constructed themselves. The pieces, the Play-Doh that makes them go and the way that they made themselves. But I'll tell you this, you ain't gonna call in the ADOS show saying no wild stuff about what you think about an interview with Gail. I mean, at least be a producer where you really got the questions and hey, we really meant to do something different with it, and this is what we were trying to do, but no, that's not you though. You the guy that's gonna avoid the Charlie Rose of it all and elevate the Black womanness in Gail while diminishing the CBS impact. You the guy that's going to take Oprah and elevate her above Byron Allen while he on the weather check and brought the civil rights law. I don't need that no more. Now, I'm not saying that Byron always going to be right, but if he ain't right, we going to call him out too. But today he right. Just like we did with Bobby Rush. Yvette did one show where Bobby Rush was right? On the Comcast suit. But today he wasn't right. I didn't even plan on calling in, and I just feel like, I was offended because I don't know about what right that dude had to call in, other than if he was really a producer on CBS and he was going to clear it up. Like, really, it's like, you're a fan. We're not having a fans conversation. All we talking about is the facts. Now, by the facts, Gayle King asked an inappropriate question about Kobe Bryant to a Black woman that was grieving her friend's loss. By the facts, Gayle King and Oprah own more wealth than half the race, than half the Black race. And by the facts, Becky, you need to check everything that makes up your identity, young man. All right, I'm out.
Appreciate it as always, Antonio. Antonio coming with the fire. As usual. I appreciate it. That man done made Antonio call in. He was sitting there watching, wasn't even going to be bothered today. And you done made Tone Talks call up in here. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Anyway, I'm going now to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey.
This is Nicole, Pretty Nikki 73 from Dallas. I had to call in tonight. This man had me so hot. First of all, Oprah's main audience was white women. So I don't even know where he got the idea that her show was some great thing for black people in America.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget that he did say he was calling in from Canada. So it's obvious he has no clue of what's going on in America for ADOS people.
Yeah.
For him to, and then he spoke about her as if that was his auntie, and he took personal offense to us discussing his auntie. Like, it was ridiculous. This man has no idea of how things work, obviously, in America, how they work and how they continue to work. For him to say that he's been watching your show and to say the things that he said, I mean, he's delusional. He's delusional. He needs a pill, a drip, something.
A drip.
We're saying. This man does not understand the way America has and continues to treat ADOS in this country. Yeah. He has no clue of the way black celebrity works in this country. He has no idea the kind of networking and, like you said, the choosing that has to happen in order for an ADOS person to become a multi-billionaire like Oprah. It doesn't happen from hard work. We know that. It doesn't happen from having a good job, just a good job. It doesn't happen like that either. It's about being chosen. Because if it was about any of those other things, then ADOS wouldn't be in a situation that we have been and that we currently are in. And it wouldn't be getting worse the way it has been. So
you right?
It's really scary to know that there are people that think like that. And as far as that Gayle King interview, even if she asked the question, right? The question. When Lisa Leslie answered her, that should have been the end of it. But Gayle, her posture, everything about her in that interview, for her to then, when after Lisa responds with her truth of who she knew Kobe to be, being one of his closest friends, for her to then say, well, you wouldn't know. Excuse me? No, you wouldn't know. You didn't know Kobe like I did. That was my close friend. So the way that she carried on in that interview, and then to come out with a so-called apology, and then try to put the onus on CBS. No, you asked the question.
Yeah, you asked the question.
And it doesn't matter that you asked 100 other questions.
And it wasn't really 100 other questions. It wasn't really even 100 other questions when you see it. You asked that question. Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, you asked that question, but you continue to ask more questions, and each time Lisa Leslie answered you with her truth of who her friend was, you continue to ignore her answer and move on to another question that you shouldn't have even been asking. This man is not even in the ground yet. People are mourning. Now, again, Kobe did nothing for me and paying my bills or making anything better for me in that sense. However, I have a son. He's 20 years old and in his second year in college. And that was his idol. And there were things that I have seen that I know my son got from Kobe, from watching him, from listening to him, from things like that. Small things but that add up.
I understand.
And I know was a part of creating my son's character.
I understand that, and I appreciate that.
Had one accusation, and let's be clear, it was an accusation. One accusation throughout his whole entire career. So to try to say that that's a part of his legacy, no, it's not.
Well, yeah,
and thank you. The person who made it.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate you, fam, for calling in. But the other
found with 3 different Ben Siemens in her underwear.
I understand, and I appreciate you calling in. I'm trying to get through some calls, but I appreciate you, family. Let me just say this, it goes to, it goes to, I don't even know. It's just so wild to me to be having this conversation. Like, you could have had that, like I said before, you could have had that conversation in his face. You never did. Like, I don't like all these two-faced people who will go and party with you and smile and how you doing, Kobe? How's your family doing? And then ask, oh, about this legacy. I just don't know. And regarding what she said earlier, like, that's why we have to stay focused on the racial wealth gap. Like, everybody can say, well, white people feel differently about Negroes. Well, why we don't have no inheritance, no money, no reparations? If you feel that differently about me and racism is, why don't you do for me the same thing that we do with other people who have been harmed in this way? Like, that's how you prove it. So anyway, I'm going to the next caller, 623. 623, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, this is Michael Hinton, Radical Mike from Phoenix. Oh,
what's going on?
God. Nuts. Tone came in and just killed it, but good evening. We love you and stuff.
Love
you are doing all the work, Queen Mama ADO. Hey.
You sound like you're from the South.
The two of you, see, it's a reason why they are not trying. And your interview was cool. I knew it being nice, and I was like, and the brother from wherever he's from, we're the same. And I'm like, dude, no, we're not, and stuff. Listen how you speak. I don't think we're the same. And the guy from Canada, it's obvious that America and the media has advertised and marketed this perception of America, and people outside of America, millions of them, probably think just like this guy that was one of those agents of chaos, because evidently he hasn't listened to your show, watched your show, or anything, because if he had, he would have known that. But one of the other things about this whole thing is, and the Snoop Dogg deal is, so the gangster replies in a gangster fashion and not a diplomatic fashion, and you concentrate on that and make him the shiny object. But the diplomatic people that are speaking out by the hundreds throughout social media, including ADOS, nobody said anything about that. Nobody said anything about those. So what I think a lot of people that listen to the show and claim ADOS Tribe for Life and Reparation 2020 need to start sharing your shows. Sharing your shows, forcing people to watch, because what this guy said was that the truth is radical. He said the truth
Ain't he though? Didn't he though? Ain't that what he said? He said, not as radical. I'm not radical.
He said the truth was radical. Because he said, you're too radical, and all we do is bring the truth and the numbers and education. I think ACRS may have to throw the flashing light, education. This is what ACRS is about. It's really about education. We roll in with reparation, but you can't get to reparation is possible with a good education. And so we're giving you the education that you're going to need to be able to stand behind reparation and stand behind ADOS, because we're the only ones bringing the education. I was listening to some guy, he just had a graphic of ADOS is causing confusion and separation. Everybody is talking about it. When you got everybody is boys, he named off the whole list. I'm like, are you nuts? We're the bad guy. We're the bad guy because these people are wrong. I'm like, the truth matters, and people need to get on board. So all thing I can say, I had a whole lot of things I was really going to say. Oh, can I say this? Before we were ADOS, and if we go back to that day when, because the other caller called and said he was 61. Well, I'm 69, born in 1950. I'll be 70 this year. And I've been a radical forever. You can check my Radical 101 on YouTube. I've been doing this for forever. But I stumbled upon you last year about mid-year, and I was like, oh, really? We got the real people in the building? What is up? I'm in. And stuff, so, but the thing about it is, if you think about in my day, when we were colored, we had the colored water fountain and the white water fountain, and we knew that we were colored, and we knew that they were white, and it was just the two of us, the colored people and the white people. And then one day, during civil rights, we went from being colored to minorities. And it was a wrap then for our identity. Because as minority, we're not a race. Colored, we were like a race, a group of special. But as a minority, we got gay minorities, we got women in minorities now. White men are threatened, they're a minority. Oh my God, the Asians are a minority. Andrew Yang said he was the only minority left. I mean, he was the only person of color. Oh, they switched it up on us again. I forgot about that. And they keep deluding us. But now we have gotten back to what were we before we were colored. We were American descendants of slavery. And ever since they took that away from us, and we've been ducking who we were before we were colored, and it almost brings tears to my eyes at how they have manipulated just the fake identity of who we are. And if we keep watering it down, and now all of our own people are mixed in with these other people that say they can't get, we had the same slave experience. I mean, the Asians had a different kind of slave experience. When you talked about they were her property, the lady had, I mean, if you had 20 women having 20 slaves, having 20 babies, oh my God, if you had 200 women having 20 babies, by different men from different ethnic, from different tribes, just mixing, matching it, and stirring up. When you mixing your DNA with 5 or 6 different Africans, ADOS is that. ADOS DNA says we are about 7 different Africans rolled up into one. Then a European, then might even throw in a Native American and stuff. I don't know what kind of breed that is, but that's ADOS. Don't nobody else have that DNA. And so you can check us if you want to. And so, take the ADOS.
All right, fam. All right.
I gotta go.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling in, fam. I appreciate you. Yeah, I've always said we're unique amalgamation. We're not one thing. And people got to stop acting like we're the same thing as everybody else. We're a unique group. That's what we are. I'm going to 708. 708, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, how you doing? Jason Wardell calling in again from Chicago. You shouted out 708 a little earlier, but I didn't know you weren't talking to me.
Sorry. I usually see 2 in the queue. I missed it.
I'm like, oh, man, what's she talking to me? Anyhow, I want to get back to the topic at hand.
Okay.
And the highlight of the show tonight, which is monopolies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Chicago, but I'm from a suburb of Chicago called Robbins, Illinois.
Okay.
And if you ever look Robbins up, Robbins is the oldest all-black ADOS governed and founded town north of the Mason-Dixie line in the United States.
Okay.
It was founded in 1917. All right, the all-black town has always been all-black, what have you. Where a gentleman, one of the wealthiest men probably in his time, was a gentleman named S.B. Fuller. S.B. Fuller was a gentleman who founded a company called Fuller's Cosmetics. For those who were born in the 50s, the gentleman on the previous call may know, they were the first company to start a cosmetic line specifically for ADOS, right? This gentleman built a huge conglomerate company. However, because of lack of capitalization and because of lack of resources, he was limited to his ability to expand. So much so, in fact, he couldn't even get bank loans at the time, because we're talking 1960s, 1970s. banks wouldn't even lend this man loan, and he had a proven business model, right, to expand his capacity. So he was forced to partner up with Dudley Cosmetics out of Greensboro, North Carolina, which was another company that was doing cosmetics for minorities at the time. The gentleman, Mr. Dudley, saw that Mr. Fuller was having such a hard time with expanding his production, he started copying his formulas to improve production in the southeast region of the United States because his products just couldn't service the large, vast market at that time. And so, case in point, the gentleman, Mr. Fuller, rose to a huge success, but because of lack of capital, the number one of the top cosmetic minority black-owned companies in the United States at that time, a mogul in his own right, ended up selling his business due to health issues to the Dudley family in Greensboro, and now all of his product lines, all his patents, and all his licenses went to the Dudley corporation. But here's the deal. So Dudley has been around for a long time, over 50 years. They just celebrated, I believe, a 50-year anniversary in 2004, 2005, for how long they've been in business. They was featured in Black Business, Black Enterprise, some of the biggest black entrepreneurial publications that we know, right? However, we both know that the cosmetic industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's international. It's all over the world. You got makeup lines and everything doing billions and billions of dollars in revenue, right? Today, they only did, watch this, $30 million in revenue.
Wow.
Just $30 million. A company that's been around over 50 years, which is a feat in itself to celebrate.
Yeah.
But only they have a smidget, just a small itty-bitty piece size of the market share, simply because they were shut out of the ability to capitalize and expand their industries because other companies like L'Oreal and just different huge cosmetic brands started to acquire and merge and acquire and merge and acquire and merge, and now they are the dominant player. And this company, little company called Dudley's Cosmetics that was black owned all these years, is pretty much barely holding on. Why? Because it was timing, like you said. It was because monopolies, during the Nixon era, they relaxed certain laws and regulations to allow companies to merge and acquire. Then they started to relax your ability to corporations to join into super PACs and to be able to collaborate to raise funds for certain candidates. And then the writing on the wall came under Obama when they relaxed the qualifications for super PACs to be formed. So billionaires can throw all their money into these PACs to turn around to run their own candidates, thus making pretty much the government for sale. So when you say monopolies are a bad thing for black folks, because it literally made the game hard to trace. It makes it hard for us to recognize when we're being played racially because it went from racial to economics. And because our ancestors, the generation before, didn't do politics right, like you and Tom talked about, because they alienated themselves from doing the work that King left behind. They got sidetracked to these good government jobs. They got sidetracked with moving to the suburbs and living keeping up with the Joneses. That they literally dropped the ball on our politics. And lastly, what I find when I talk to a lot of people who aspire to be entrepreneurs, like Mr. Fuller and the Dudleys were, is for whatever reason they feel as though that in order for them to be successful in business, they have to not talk about group economics. It's almost as if they have to abort the mission for the collective in order to focus on their own individual agenda. It's almost as if they can't walk and chew gum at the same time. And so they literally just abort the community for the sake of their own last name and their own inheritance and their own family. Because they recognize, because they feel as though, well, I can't be focused on building what I'm trying to build and trying to think about community uplift simultaneously. You see what I'm saying? Because I had
Absolutely.
these conversations with them. It's like, okay, you're successful, but how many people in your community are you helping? And they have this, Republican ideal. Oh, they gotta do for themselves. If I did it, they can do it. No excuses, because that's what they sold themselves to get to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
But what they fail to realize is you're an exception. You're not the rule. Like I heard you and Tone say a few years ago, what's better when Jay-Z made that line, what's better than one billionaire too? And y'all said, no, what's better than one billionaire? How about a solidified black middle class?
Yeah, stable middle class.
That's where we are with ADOS. We're focusing on the collective of all of us moving up, not just a select few that have to go through these white controlled conglomerates and be cherry picked to do their bidding to make their racial appetites feel more comfortable, so that they don't have to no longer apologize for their evil doing. You see what I'm saying?
I get it.
That's where we are now, and that's why ADOS is so important, because it's bringing everything full circle. No longer are we allowing all these other people to connect into something that was supposed to be built for us by using these catch-all phrases like minorities and people of color and all these things, eliminating our exclusive distinctness and identity. That's why I'm so excited about ADOS, because we take back control of the narrative, we take back control of our agenda as a collective. So
True.
That's pretty much all I had to share. Appreciate you, Yvette.
Appreciate
you,
it.
for
Thank you, fam. Thank you. Thank you, fam. Appreciate it. You're right. I'm going to go to probably what's going to be my last call of the night. Let me see if it's... I'm going to 980-980. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello?
Hello? How you doing? What's your name? What's on your mind?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, Yvette? This is
Pretty
James
good. How about you?
Carolina. I really don't know what to say after that last dude. That was actually quite an education to get in however many minutes he spoke.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was riveted by a lot of what he was saying.
Yeah,
so it's like hard to even respond to that. I'm ready to hit the books right now to do some research. But yeah, I thought that was actually pretty dope. That was an excellent story. He really put that together pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I was calling. Well, basically, I was just saying, you know what? I haven't been able to watch your videos, even though I'm a big fan. I've been working like 14, 15-hour days. I just want to say, you know what? I know just how difficult it is for you and Tone to do what you do, and just focus on that, and just be go for the things that you're passionate about. And so I just wanted to commend you on that and say that I appreciate it. And try to avoid, all of the feelings I had about a lot of the things that you said, because that, I could probably send you a book the size of War and Peace on all of my thoughts about this entire subject.
All right.
So, you know what? I'm the last caller. I'm going to let you go.
Appreciate it, fam.
It's hard to follow what the guy before, had to say. That was awesome.
All right, appreciate it, fam. You got to come with it when you come to the show. Everybody, my people be on it. So anyway, fam, we are at a little past the 2-hour mark, 2 hour and 8 minutes. That's what we are. So fam, we are going to end it here for the evening. As always, fam, please hit that like button for me. Cost you no money. Subscribe to brown.com. Cost you no money either. You can go there and give me your email address. Hitting the subscribe button if you have not. Hitting the bell if you have not to get notifications. Cost you nothing either. If you want to donate brown.com. Patreon.com/YCarnell if you want to do that, if you are so inclined. But the like button is still there. Cost you nothing. Just hit it. Appreciate it. Fam, until next time, be easy breezy. Thank you, Lafayette Gilchrist. I appreciate it. Be easy breezy. Take it easy. Finish your libations. Be responsible. And we will have another conversation next broadcast. We didn't get as much about Bloomberg, though, specifically I thought I was going to get. I don't know. So anyway, fam, until next time, be easy breezy, and we will talk soon.